This is the Louie T Network.
I'm ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Overtime. So we head to overtime.
Let's try that again. Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Week 6 edition, Carolina Panthers at home taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Both teams came into the game at 4-1. Highly anticipated Thursday night game. I must say, this wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing game. Didn't live up to the hype that I put it at. Very sloppy football game. However, I told Redskins fans this on Tuesday night. I told them the Eagles are not about the shits this year. They're not playing around. They're not about the shits. The Eagles are not playing around. They're a damn good football team. And if someone doesn't put a stop to their shenanigans, they will run away with the NFC East, sort of like the Dallas Cowboys did with this division last year. And now the Eagles are 5-1 after an impressive victory on the road versus the Carolina Panthers. What a win for the Eagles. I didn't see this coming. I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of Eagles fans said, we're going to Carolina and we're winning. I didn't buy it for 1 second. This was a very impressive win, arguably their most impressive win of the season. You talk about going on the road and beating the Redskins in week 1. That's a nice win. It's a divisional win. Snapped a losing streak to the Redskins. That was cute, but the Redskins, we didn't know what they were at that time, okay? You then go to Kansas City, lose your lone game of the season thus far, and you competed like hell for 3.5 quarters, let the game get away from you late in the fourth quarter before rallying and coming within a Hail Mary of tying that game. So went on the road and showed well against the Chiefs. You beat the Chargers on the road. You have beaten the Arizona Cardinals at home. You've won games. You beat the Giants at home on the last second field goal. This was impressive. This was your most impressive win of the season. Turned Cam Newton and company over, stifled them in the run game. The only person that had any room to run on the night was Cam Newton. Hats off to the Philadelphia Eagles. To me, right now, first blush, after watching what I saw tonight, combining that with the previous 4 games that the Eagles have played in this season, them and the Green Bay Packers in the NFC are the 2 best teams right now. And I know Atlanta Falcons fans don't want to hear that. They won't want any part of that right now. They don't want to hear that they're not one of the best in the NFC. And until somebody takes it away from them, they feel like they need to be in that discussion. That's cute. That's fine. But I'm just telling you, off of what I've watched this season, this Eagles team, those Packers, right now, for my money, the best 2 teams in the NFC as constructed right now. Obviously, still early in the season, things can change. But I tell you what, man, this Eagles football team showed me a lot tonight, because that's not an easy place to go into and win. And they made Cam Newton and that offense look pedestrian after they had come off their best 2-game stretch on the road, mind you, of the season, really looking like a well-polished oil machine offensively. They reduced that Panthers football team to next to nothing tonight. And if not for some questionable calls, I thought the officials kept the Panthers in the game tonight. I thought there were some questionable calls by the officials that really aided and abetted them in hanging in this ball game. I thought the Eagles did some stupid things themselves to allow the Panthers to hang in. But at the end of the day, they made the plays when necessary to put this game on ice and get the win 28-23 to go to 5-1 on the season. Humongous win for the Eagles. We're going to talk about it in depth here in a second. But if you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content in 2017 and beyond. We changing the game. Want you to help us do that by simply hitting the subscribe button and becoming a member of the Louie T Network. I've got a number of social media platforms. There's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's Facebook, all of them in the description below. So check those out. Make yourself comfortable and get in tune to what's going on here on the Louie T Network. That being said, let's jump into this breakdown, and we will start with the Philadelphia Eagles side of things as they were able to get it done 28-23 in this ball game. I want to start with that defense because to me, that's the reason they won this football game. At 10-3, they were dead in the water with the Eagles. They had no momentum. There was no juice offensively. They were stuck in the mud. The Panthers had done a really good job up until that point in the game of really stifling that Eagles offense, and they had them sort of boxed in. After the Eagles, I thought, got off to a nice start on the opening drive of the game, but then the Panthers were able to get pressure on Wentz, knock the football out, and derail that drive and force the turnover. After that, really, the Eagles hadn't done much of anything on the offensive side of the football. So at 10-3, with the Panthers having the football deep in their own territory, the Eagles defensively made a play that I thought changed the course of this game, getting pressure on Wentz. And we saw the importance of Fletcher Cox coming back in this game. He was outstanding. He was a one-man wrecking crew up front. They just simply did not have an answer for him on the evening. And I thought he was a huge difference maker in this game. And he was able to get to Newton as he was trying to throw the football. The ball goes straight up into the air. It is then picked off by the Eagles deep in Panthers territory. Took them 7 plays to go 12 yards, but they were able to punch it in and with a Zach Ertz touchdown, his first of 2 on the evening. And that was the start and really the beginning of the end for the Panthers in this game to me, because after that, I felt like the Eagles got their bearings, figured out some things. They were outstanding on third downs in this game, and they continue to be. Remember, that was the running narrative going into the game. Eagles, one of the best teams. Eagles are the best team on third downs in this league. They showed all the stats. They showed that Carson Wentz has the most passing yards on third down, the most first downs, the most touchdowns, all of those things. That's the most critical down in all of football is third down, and the Eagles right now are dominating third downs, and they did it again in this game offensively. And so you look at what they were able to accomplish, and I just thought it was a phenomenal game by this Eagles defense to create turnovers, 3 interceptions of Cam Newton in this game, a ton of pressures. They hit him a lot in this game. They made him uncomfortable. Like I said, the lead dog up front was Fletcher Cox, but hats off to your defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, who just came with pressure all night long. Both coordinators. Give both coordinators credit. I will give both defensive coordinators credit. They both came with pressure consistently throughout the night, and that pressure, I don't think the Panthers were prepared to deal with that pressure. A lot of outbreaking routes. I didn't feel like they took advantage of the opportunities to beat that man-to-man coverage. And so I felt like this Eagles defense said, okay, you can't really hurt us with the blitz, then we're going to keep blitzing. And they had a lot of success throughout the night. The only thing that really hurt this defense was Cam Newton using his legs. Other than that, they did a really good job of pretty much keeping everything in front of them, not giving up anything cheap or deep. No big plays for this Panthers offense. We saw a ton of big plays for this Panthers offense over the last 2 weeks versus the Patriots, versus the Lions. None of that jumped off tonight as the Eagles did a great job of making the Panthers take everything underneath. Every time they tried to take a shot down the field, it was incomplete. They did get a couple of pass interferences. I want to speak to one in particular on Jalen Mills down the field in the third quarter that kept a Panthers drive alive. I thought that was a very, very bad call on the interception, as a matter of fact, by Leotis McKelvin. Not Leotis McKelvin, but McLeod, your safety. That was a great play by the safety. A bad decision by Newton to force it into double coverage. I did not like the call. Did he have his hand on the receiver? Yeah, he did. Jalen Mills did have his hands on, but it did not, to me, impede the play. I didn't think that was an obvious, no doubt we got to throw the flag pass interference. I did not like that call at all, and I thought it helped the Panthers get 3 in a situation where they were desperate at that point in the game. If I'm not mistaken, they were down 12. They needed at least a field goal there. I didn't like that call, and if that call doesn't get made, if that call is not made, I think that the Eagles are able to run away with this game. And so I thought that was a big call in the game. So was the rough in the passer call on your rookie, Derek Barnett, which you could argue Cam did a little bit of acting there, but you can't hit him there. Look, you got to hear the whistle. You got to stop. There's no way Cam Newton's going to be standing right there and allow you to come and hit him. So you know that the whistle's been blown. You just gotta be smart in that situation because, again, they were in 3rd and long. They were not going to convert there. Don't give them an opportunity, and they ultimately would go down and score on that possession because of that 15-yard penalty. Do not help these guys out. They were struggling offensively on the night. Do not help aid and abet them to stay in this game, and the Eagles defensively did that. But for as much as the Eagles gave defensively, they took it away even more so on this night. And when plays needed to be made, how about Rasul Douglas? I've always liked him. I told you I liked him coming out of West Virginia. He's a big corner. He had an opportunity to put this game away with an interception, and he dropped the rock. But again, I thought he was outstanding on the night. I thought this Eagles defense as a whole, I thought Nigel Bradham was everywhere. He got injured, came back in the game, had a huge tip on a 3rd down, a 3rd and 1, which inexcusable that the Panthers didn't run the football on that 3rd and 1, and then on 4th and 1 still had a chance to run it and decided to throw it twice. But he had a huge tip on the 3rd and 1 and set up the 4th and 1 that the Eagles got the critical stop to win the game. I thought Nigel Bradham was outstanding. I thought this Eagles front was outstanding, doing a really good job of making life miserable. Pocket collapsed consistently on Newton in this game. I thought he had more opportunities to run, tried to hang in there, and I thought the Eagles defensively did a really good job of just making it tough on Cam Newton to complete passes from the pocket. You look at his numbers in this game, and they were horrific, and it was because of that front four of the Eagles really applying pressure, collapsing the pocket, and making life tough on Cam Newton. And also, as another note, the Panthers are one of the worst running teams in the league, and you saw that tonight, but give credit to this Eagles defense. The run defense was outstanding in this football game. Absolutely flawless. Their longest run outside of Cam Newton by any running back might have been 6 yards by McCaffrey at some point in this game. They had a struggle running the football. At one point, Jonathan Stewart, if I'm not mistaken, had 9 carries for -6 yards. I mean, they were absolutely stifling him. He had no shot. He would get the football, and there would be 2-3 Eagles in the backfield waiting on him on just about every carry. I thought they were dominant, and I thought it was that domination up front in the run game that forced Cam Newton to have to try and beat them, and he wasn't able to do it by himself. And so I thought that this Eagles defensive front set the tone for this game by stopping the run and telling Cam Newton, hey, bro, you want to win? You're going to have to beat us. And he was able to do that to Detroit last week. Jonathan Stewart had 18 carries on 21 yards last week. This week, similar numbers, probably even worse. But this time, Cam Newton wasn't able to put this team on his back and will them to a win. Eagles defensively wasn't having it on this night. You go to their offense in this game. Nelson Aguilar continues to shine for me. And I tell people this all the time. I've been trying to tell Redskins fans this when regarding Josh Doctson. I've been trying to tell fans of other teams with young players that haven't blossomed yet, Minnesota Vikings and Laquan Treadwell. You just never know when the light bulb is going to come on for a young fella, whether it be injuries, whether it be he's just not grasping the playbook, whether he's had a number of different coaches in a young NFL career, head is spinning, trying to figure things out. Whatever the case may be, you got to give these young guys time to mature. Everyone doesn't mature at the same rate. We're so quick in this day and age of instant gratification. We're so quick to jump and judge a guy. Oh, he's a bust after 1 year of lack of production. We're quick to tell someone, oh, he's a bust. You know, in some instances, yeah, like Marcus Smith for this Eagles team. Yeah, he was a bust. But Aguilar has talent. I always tell you, be wary of the USC wide receiver. You know, buyer beware in that situation. But he has talent. And I said, give the young man a chance. And he's playing outstanding football this year. He's a huge difference maker for this football team. You talk about Jeffrey. You talk about Torrey Smith. and those acquisitions. But to me, the biggest acquisition was a guy that was already on the roster just stepping up and playing better football. And that guy has been Nelson Aguilar. And I think he's playing outstanding football right now. Had the touchdown tonight, a couple of huge catches and runs after the catch. He's been outstanding for this Eagles football team. Blunt looked good early in his football game. I thought he did some good things. And I'm not a huge Blunt fan, but Eagles fans continue to say, look, this is the guy that's going to be the difference maker for this football team. And he made a huge play or made a number of huge plays. I thought he ran the football tough. And that's what they're going to need from him moving forward. Offensively, though, the catalyst for this football team is number 11. It's Carson Wentz. And I get this question all the time. Carson Wentz or Dak, which one would you take? It's not even close for me. It's not a debate. Carson Wentz is the best young quarterback in all of football. That includes Marcus Mariota. That includes Jameis Winston. That includes whoever you want to throw in that discussion, okay? For me, Carson Wentz is the best of all of those guys. And the one thing that those guys, or the one thing that Mariota can't do is he can't stay healthy. The one thing that Jameis Winston can't do is protect the football. Wentz does everything. He can extend the play. He's very accurate when he gets time. He's deadly accurate in the pocket with guys around him, with trash around him. He still makes throws. There was a 3rd and 15 that he throws to Hollins deep in his own territory, which was a huge drive because he was 5 for 5 on that drive for 79 yards when they were backed up all the way at their own 11, 2nd and 26, 3rd and 15, and he converts with a guy draped all over his legs. Hollins for an 18 and a first down, and then throws a beautiful go ball to Jeffries down the sideline. Never, ever trust a man with 2 first names outside Jeffrey down the sideline, and that sets up the touchdown to Nelson Aguilar. He was magnificent on that particular possession. He was magnificent throughout the night, and it's his escapability. Even on that same possession, remember how it got to 2nd and 26. They called a holding penalty on your center, and remember he escapes 2 or 3 Carolina Panther defenders, gets out of the pocket and runs for about 11 yards, but it's called back due to holding. This guy's extraordinary. He's slithery, he's slippery, he's magical in the pocket, and when he gets out of the pocket, he's even more dangerous. And so to me, he's got the complete package. I said that when he was drafted. I was going goo goo gaga over him coming out of North Dakota State. You asked me right now, I told you he's the best young quarterback in all of football, and he continues to show his poise and moxie, whether he's at home or he's on the road in Los Angeles versus the Chargers, on the road against Kansas City. I thought he was good in that football game as well, gave his team a chance. On the road against the Redskins, he was phenomenal in that game outside of the pick 6 that he threw, which was tipped. This guy has been outstanding this season, and he continues to lead this Eagles football team the best way that he knows how, and he's only going to get better. He's just scratching the surface, and that's what makes this Eagles team so dangerous, is because even when the play call isn't the best, even when someone doesn't win, Wentz can win himself with his legs, extend a play, and give somebody else a chance to win and make a play. And that's the essence of quarterbacks taking the team and putting them on their back. We see it with Aaron Rodgers. Hell, we saw it with him against the Cowboys last week, putting the team on his back and taking them down the field and willing them to a victory because he's got the ability to use his legs. And that's what Wentz brings to the table, the ability to be a dual-threat quarterback that can hurt you not only with his legs, but with his arm. And he was going up against one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks this league has ever seen. And I thought he outdueled him in the football game. And so give credit where credit is due. Carson Wentz and this Philadelphia Eagles football team, they're clicking on all cylinders. Hell, even their coach, who I'm not a huge fan of, Doug Peterson, even he's pressing all the right buttons. Look, I didn't like the decision to go for 2 after they had the illegal formation penalty. It was 17-10 at that point in the game. I wasn't in love with the decision to take the extra point off the board and go for 2, because when you get those types of situations and they work, guess what? He's a genius. He's ballsy. He's gutsy. Had that come down to the end of the game and you end up losing, or this game goes to overtime because he goes for 2 there, doesn't get it, and it's 16-13. And at the end of this game, it's a field goal game, and the Panthers are able to go down, get in the field goal range, and tie the game up, send it to overtime where they ultimately win. We're going to look back on that play and say, what the hell were you thinking? Why'd you do that? But when you got it going and you trust in your players to execute, which they did on that situation, on that two-point conversion, Blunt gets it in. When things are going well, when you're 5-1, you can make those types of decisions, and your team is going to have your back. And right now, that's where the Eagles are. They're hot right now, okay? They've won 5 out of their first 6 games of the season. They're playing with the utmost confidence. They got a huge matchup coming on Monday Night Football versus the Redskins. And we don't know what the Redskins are going to do in Week 6 versus the San Francisco 49ers. But in any event, no matter what happens in that game, they're still going to be in first place because of the work that they've put in early in this young NFL season. They've been outstanding, and hats off to this Eagles football team for making a full transformation. This was a defense that was really shoddy in the secondary last year. They've had injuries already. They've overcome those injuries. They've played quality football. Up front, they've had injuries. Fletcher Cox just coming back in this game. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of watching the baseball game at the same time as I'm doing this breakdown, so I apologize. But he goes down, and they still hold it down. They dominate the Arizona Cardinals last week. The week prior, they go on the road. They beat the Los Angeles Chargers. They're finding ways to win. And it's not always pretty, but it's gritty, and it's a dub. And this is an impressive team right now. I'm so impressed with what the Eagles have done in this young NFL season. I didn't expect them to be this far along this quickly, but I think a lot of that credit goes to Carson Wentz. Because of his maturation so quickly, I think that they've gotten to the point where they are now because he has skipped some steps, okay? Usually you got to crawl before you walk. He just went straight to walking. He skipped the crawling phase. Last year, he came out the gate. Remember how impressive he was right out of the gate last year? Then I thought the teams started to catch up with the Eagles a little bit. They started to struggle. Then we realized there's not enough talent around him. He was trying to do everything himself. This year, they add the talent. And now you see that this guy has everything you need to build a winner around him, and that's what they're doing in Philadelphia right now. And this was an impressive win on the road against a Panthers team that had found their mojo the last 2 weeks and had gotten back to their winning ways. They come home, and the Eagles punch them right in the mouth and get the win 28-23. You go to the Panthers side of things. This was a really disappointing performance for me. I felt like the Eagles came into this game and they were confident. But at the same time, if you're the Carolina Panthers, you had opportunities. The Eagles muff a punt deep in their own territory. All you got to do is dive on that football. It looks like your cornerback, and I want to say it was Worley, looked like he slipped on the play. Would have had a chance to dive on it. But that's a ball you got to have. You got to have it. You get an opportunity, you force the fumble on Wentz. You need 7 there. You don't need a field goal. You need 7 there. I don't even think you got a field goal out of that situation. You might have gotten a field goal. Then at the end of the half, I thought that was some questionable decision-making. Graham Gano has the leg to kick a 58-yard field goal. Why not send him out there? And then to throw the pass that you threw, again, I just thought all the way around, I thought it was a lackadaisical effort by the Carolina Panthers. I thought late in the game they lacked the sense of urgency that they needed to try to win the football game on the offensive side. I thought that they lacked some situational awareness. 3rd and 1 late in the ball game. Why are you throwing it? 4th and 1 late in the ball game. I understand you've had your struggles, your fair share of struggles in this game running the football, but you got Cam Newton who was dominating on the ground all night long. You need a yard. Put him under center, as a matter of fact, and let him quarterback sneak, and him falling for it would be a first down. I didn't like their usage of timeouts. You know you're down. You're going to need those timeouts. I can't stand teams wasting timeouts. Those are precious jewels in the second half. If you don't have to, you better not. That challenge, I wasn't mad at Rivera for challenging that. I thought it was a touchdown. I thought there was a clear, definitive angle where his foot and his arm were both off the ground, ball extended. We know the goal line extends around the earth like the equator. It's a touchdown. The ball is across. He's not down. What more do you need to see? They didn't want to overturn it. Okay, fine. You wasted time out there. On that final possession, though, the second to last possession, on that fourth down, you can't use a timeout there. You can't use it because you know you're going to need them on defense. You can't afford to use your timeout there. But in any event, you still get the football back. You still got opportunities. I just thought that this team looked ill-prepared tonight. This didn't look like the same team I saw last week in Detroit that was uber focused, laser-like focused. This didn't look like the same team that had all odds against them against New England and went out. And sometimes I think that's what this team needs. They need for no one to believe in them. They need to have that us against the world mentality. Remember that entire 2015 season, it was them against the world. Nobody believed. No one thought they could do the things that they were doing, and they were wearing that chip on their shoulder until they got to the Super Bowl and everybody said, hey, you're supposed to win this game. There's no chip on your shoulder. You're the prohibitive favorite. And that's when they came out and they didn't play their best football. Last year, they were supposed to be the team to beat. They had injuries, they struggled, and so they didn't have the season that they thought that they should have had. This year, you come out, little to no expectations. You get some cupcake games to start the season off. You win both of them. Then you lose to New Orleans, and everybody's looking at you like, oh, okay, that's probably the real Panthers. Much like last year, this isn't a really good football team, especially on the offensive side of the football after watching them beat Buffalo 9-3. And then you turn around and you go on the road where no one gives you a chance against New England, and you win. You put up 30 points, and you put up 33 as a matter of fact, and you win that football game. That's impressive. The following week, no one gives you a chance against a tough, gritty Detroit Lions team on the road, and you go in there and you put 27 on them and was up 27-10 at one point before allowing them to claw back into the game and finally putting it away with a slant on a 3rd and 7 to KB to put the game away. But that was impressive. To go on the road, no one gave you a shot, and do it again. Now, all of a sudden, everyone is expecting you to win against a tough Eagles team, granted, but everyone's expecting you to win, and you come out and you lay an egg. And so I just was really disappointed with the offensive execution or lack thereof in this football game. This team can't run the football, okay? That's a fact. We saw it last week, and I just thought, okay, Detroit's really good at stopping the run. That's what I chalked that up to. And I've been talking about creativity, how I need to see creativity from Mike Shula. We had seen it the last 2 weeks. And of course, when things are working, yeah, it looks great. But there was creativity with the play calling. How many screens did you run to Christian McCaffrey tonight? How many receptions did he have? And I don't have a problem with him catching 12 balls or whatever it was he caught tonight. I have a problem with you calling the same damn screen over and over and over and over again as if the Eagles haven't seen it twice, 3 times, 4 times already in the football game. They're not going to keep falling for the same play. I thought this team lacked creativity. You still haven't figured out what to do with Curtis Samuel yet, other than put him in the backfield and use him as a decoy. You still haven't figured out. You gave him a jet sweep tonight. What did he do? Got to get this young man to football. He's explosive. Right now, you're lacking explosive, dynamic playmakers. Christian McCaffrey is all you got. The rest of your guys are possession receivers, and damn good ones, okay? But they are possession receivers. They scare no one vertically. So Curtis Samuel is the one guy that can provide that for you, that can be a threat down the field, that can change the look that the defense is giving you. Got to find ways to get this young man involved, and yet they refuse to do so. Like I said, Cam wasn't his best. The offensive line was horrendous in this game. They couldn't run block. They didn't protect him well. He was under siege for the majority of the game. They were directly attributed to one of those interceptions. Possibly you could argue the last interception of the game where he threw it right to the safety. He was responsible, or to Jalen Mills. He was responsible for that one. The offensive line was as well too. But they came with an all-out blitz. And I thought they picked it up well enough for Cam to find a receiver, and he just airmailed that one. But in any event, I just thought it was a poor performance by this Panthers offense. This wasn't one of their better showings. I know they're better than what I saw tonight, but this was disappointing because this was a big game. This is an Eagles team that you've dominated on primetime television over the last 4 years, and yet you came out and you allowed them to take the fight to you, especially after getting off to what I thought was a fairly good start. Forcing the turnover early, Cam getting the rushing touchdown. You're up 10-3. You got all the momentum. And then one turnover changes this entire football game. And I didn't think you ever rebounded from that one turnover. And then you had another turnover. And that's just Jonathan Stewart. Again, why are you throwing it to Jonathan Stewart? Why isn't that Curtis Samuel? Why isn't that someone else? John Stewart doesn't have natural hands. He's not a natural pass catcher. Again, I just think the lack of creativity is killing this football team. When this team is clicking on all cylinders, you see the performances that you get in New England and Detroit. When this team is not, you get games like Buffalo in this game where your offense struggles and sputters and you turn the football over. And again, in this league, and I talked about this with the Eagles, they've been outstanding because they don't beat themselves. They forced turnovers this year, like they did against the Redskins in Week 1, like they did against the Arizona Cardinals, like they did tonight. But they're not giving up a bunch of turnovers. You can't turn the ball over and expect to win in this league against good football teams. You may be able to do that against the 49ers. You may be able to do that against the Bills. Bills are actually a good team this year, but you may be able to get away with that against certain teams. You're not going to be able to get away with that against the upper echelon, and the Eagles are upper echelon after going into Carolina and winning this game and improving to 5-1. You go to the defensive side of football, the defense was never the same after Luke Kuechly left the game, and let's hope it's not a concussion. I thought he was holding his neck like a stinger-type shoulder injury, but the report on the sideline from Tracy Wolfson was it was a concussion, and he did not return. And so if that is a concussion and he's out for any amount of time, that is so detrimental to this Panthers defense because he is the heart and soul of this defense. And not that Mayo didn't come in and hold his own. It's just that there's only one Luke Kuechly. And he is a guy that is irreplaceable. And a lot of those deep routes over the middle of the field that the Eagles kept getting over and over again, Kuechly erases those. He gets the proper depth. He reads the eyes of the quarterback. Those don't go down the way that they ended up going. But in any event, you had opportunities to get off the field. I thought the run defense was good after it. Early on in the game was a little shaky. I thought the run defense was good. And then it got a little suspect kind of late, and then you picked it back up. Bottom line is you had opportunities in this game. You had the Eagles in some third and long situations. You let them off the hook numerous times. You gave up some big balls. I thought the officials let you guys play and didn't let the Eagles play necessarily with some of the PI calls. I thought that Bradbury may have gotten away with one or two over there, but I thought they were good no calls. But if they would have thrown the flag, I wouldn't have batted in the eye because I thought that he had gotten there early, had his hand on the receiver, much like Jalen Mills did when they did call it. So in any event, defensively, you made stops late in this game to give your team a chance, but the sudden change of possessions twice inside your own 15 hurt this team, hurt this defense. The defense, for the most part, if you look at what they did, they gave themselves a chance. And the offense hurt them with those turnovers deep in their own territory. And that sudden change of possession, you'd love your defense to find a way to get a stop and force a field goal. But it's tough to do in this league, and Zach Ertz got you twice on those sudden change of possessions into the end zone. And that was the difference in the game. You lose this game by 5. Your offense turns it over deep in your own territory twice, leads to 14 Eagles points. That's the difference in the game right there. You don't need to look any further. You don't need to probe into what wasn't done, what play call didn't happen here, what didn't happen here, what did happen here. You don't need to go any further than 3 turnovers by the Panthers, 1 by the Eagles, and 3 turnovers, 2 of which by the Panthers inside their own 15-yard line, turning it over, sudden change of possession, asking that defense to get a stop with their backs up against the wall, and they gave up 2 touchdowns. That's the difference in the game right there. So really disappointed in the performance that the Panthers put forth on this primetime stage. This is their opportunity to show everybody we're back. And instead, we saw a lot of what we saw from this team last year. Mental mistakes, too many mistakes, physical mistakes, and just the inability to come up clutch with opportunities. They had ample opportunities late to steal this game away from the Eagles. The Eagles refused to put this game on ice, and they simply couldn't get it done. I am disgusted with the 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 call late. You need a yard, guys. A yard with arguably the best quarterback in a 3rd and short situation because of his size. I don't understand the logic. So what? You don't have a timeout. You got 1 minute and 22 seconds left. Plenty of time to get a first down and that's the most important thing at that time. Forget the clock, the first down. Because if you run out of downs, you lose the game. So, again, I thought the execution was poor. I thought this team looked ill-prepared at times. And hats off to the Eagles because they took it to this Panthers football team and they took this victory on the road. And to me, that was impressive. Eagles get the win 28-23. They go to 5-1. And right now they have the best record in the NFC conference at 5-1. Meanwhile, the Panthers drop to 4-2. Golden opportunity to stake their claim as one of the best teams in the NFC. And they fall flat on their face, if you ask me, with this lackluster performance. Let's get to your comments, if anyone is watching out there. And if you want your comment to be read, use the hashtag LouieTLive. All right, let's get to your comments. Cloud says, well, that's one down. And my man Cloud said last night that he thinks that these Eagles can win their next two, and they were big ones. And as Redskins fans, we were hoping that this would be a loss, and then that would set up an epic. And if the Redskins, who have to take care of business of their own on Sunday versus the 49ers at home, if they were able to take care of business, get to 3-2, and the Eagles lost this game and go to 4-2, that would set up an epic showdown on Monday night for first place. Now the Eagles are like, hey, first place regardless of what the Redskins do against the 49ers. And so, like my man Cloud said, he said we're going to get at least one of these. He says, I think we're going to get both. And one down, one to go as they get it done in this football game. Cloud also says the referees were terrible, especially on those pass interference calls. I agree. I thought the referees made some questionable calls. The first one, he got there early. On the slant, on a third down, he got there early. Okay, I'll give you that one. But I absolutely hated the second one that negated the McLeod interception. That's a terrible call. I don't think in that situation you make that call. And again, that kept the Panthers in the game because they were dead in the water at that point, down 12, if I'm not mistaken. And at that point in the game, if that's an interception and McLeod got up, returned it to about the 40, 45, close to midfield, they would have been in great field position. They had scored on their last two possessions. I'd like to think that the Eagles were going to put them away at that point. So I hated that call especially. Young Mello says, Cam is so inconsistent. It is so frustrating. Yeah, it can be at times. I won't put it all on him tonight. That offensive line was abysmal. I mean, that pocket was collapsing in his lap. One of the interceptions, the first interception was like a 3-step drop, and he didn't even have time to do that. Fletcher Cox, he literally put Trey Turner, who is usually stout at the point of attack, on his heels and put his ass on skates and walked him back into the lap of Cam Newton. So, again, I won't put it all on Cam, but he was not his sharpest tonight. I mean, hell, the last throw of the game, the ground ball to McCaffrey, got to have it, okay? You can't throw a ground ball there. It's 4th down and 1, which I still don't know why the hell they weren't running. But in any event, you can't throw a ground ball there. But if you look at the pocket on that play, it was crumbling around him. So I give credit to that Eagles front. They were outstanding tonight. The Mister says, call a spade, Lou. Carolina was lucky to even be in this thing and very overrated. Look, I'm not going to call the Panthers overrated. They went to New England, they went to Detroit, and they won those games. They were lucky to be in this game. I'll grant you that because there are a lot of mistakes made in this game on their part and on the part of the officials to allow them to remain in this game. But they, whoa, foul. Okay, I'm sorry. It's 9-8, 9th inning, and I think Jason Worth had got a hold of one, but he yanked it foul. Anyway, sorry. They were lucky to be in this game, but that's the referees. They made the calls. There's nothing you can do about that. They had opportunities to win. I'm not here to talk about luck, okay? Because luck is a part of the game. And you got to have the ball bounce your way. You got to have opportunities fall into your lap, and you got to take advantage of them. Luck is a part of the game. And they just didn't take advantage of the opportunities that were given to them. And so they fall tonight. And so I'm not going to call them lucky. You don't get lucky in this league and win 4 games, 2 on the road against 2 good football teams. You don't get lucky and do that in this league. So I won't call them lucky. You were talking about just in this game. Yes, they were lucky to be in this game. I'm sorry. I kind of took it and ran with it. Yeah, they were lucky to be in this game. They should have gotten blown out. And if the officials don't make a couple of calls that they made in this game, if their rookie defensive end, Derek Barnett, doesn't steamroll Cam, and again, I thought it was a half-acting job, but don't put the officials in a position to where they can impact the game there. They weren't going to convert that third down. It was 3rd and long. They needed help, and the Eagles assisted them. So, yeah, they got some help in this game, did the Panthers, but they didn't know how to take advantage of that help. Brandon Sullivan says Eagles should have ran Blunt more. He was feeling early. I thought early he was impressive. And that's what they do, though. I told you, I have this feeling like they like Blunt. They don't love Blunt. They would have loved for Sproles to have stayed healthy. They would have loved for another one of these running backs to take over this position, because I think they like Blunt, especially in short yardage situations and around the goal line. They like Blunt in those situations. I don't think they love Blunt. That's why every week he's getting 14 to 17 carries where you're like, hey, he was dominating. Why didn't he touch it more? I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know. Because I thought, like you, early in this game, he was running it well. So I didn't think that he needed to be diminished in terms of the amount of touches. But in any event, Cloud says, injury bug was getting us in the Panthers this game too. The difference between the two was your guys came back outside of Jordan Hicks. Your guys came back. Theirs didn't. And so that was big because I don't know if the Panthers benched Worley or not, but I saw that the other corner, number 27 out there. I don't know that guy. Never seen him before. Don't know what he's about, but I saw Alshon Jeffrey run right by him, and Alshon Jeffrey shouldn't be running by anybody. But he did give him a little bit of a stutter and go, but still, I don't know if Worley got injured and left the game and didn't return, but I do know that the Kuechly injury was huge. That really impacted them. After he left the game, that's when the Eagles really started to have success offensively. The Mister says, I get the Eagles, but how can you say Green Bay is better when they get blown out by us, dog? Come on now. Because they were missing a lot of players in that game. The same way you lost to the Buffalo Bills because you were missing players. And it's one thing when you go into a game knowing, okay, both my left and right tackle aren't going to play, and my best receiver isn't going to play, and my second best receiver isn't going to play, and my best defensive player isn't going to play. It's one thing when you go into the game knowing that. It's another thing when all of those things happen on the first possession of the game. When you lose your left tackle on the first possession of the game, you lose your best receiver on the first possession of the game, you lose your best defensive player on the first possession of the game, it changes things. That's why I can say Green Bay is a good football team, because if healthy, or at least knowing what they have going into the game, that Atlanta game doesn't come out the way that it did. But I'm not here to argue about Green Bay. I know what Green Bay is. I know who they are. I know what they're capable of. And so I feel confident saying that the Packers and the Eagles right now, for me, okay, and obviously it's opinion-based. All right, it's subjective. You, being a Falcons fan, feel like your team's one of the best in the NFC, if not the best. Good for you. But I'm telling you that the Packers, on a neutral site against the Falcons, to me, the Packers can win that football game. So I look at the Packers, and I think they're one of the best teams. I look at this Eagles football team, and I think they're one of the best teams in the NFC. Archangel says, Eagles can't talk until they play a team like Green Bay or my Atlanta Falcons. And like you said, it's too early to talk about the best team, but they look decent now. Absolutely. I mean, again, it's early in the season. I'm just talking about off first blush, early season, first look at these teams. That's what I'm seeing right now. The Eagles look, you can't control who's put in front of you. All you can do is beat the teams that they put in front of you. And the Eagles have done that this season. Simple as that. They've beat the teams, with the exception of the Chiefs, which no one has done yet. They've beat the teams that have been put in front of them. So I'm not going to knock the hustle. You know, you don't get to pick and choose who you play. You only play who they put in front of you. And they've won 5 out of the 6 teams. They've beat 5 out of the 6 teams that have been put in front of them this season. Darth Vader says, until Cam redeems himself, call him Scam Newton. Like he seemed rattled and the play calling had me dumbfounded. He looked a little banged up, and they asked a lot of him tonight. He ran it, 10, 11 times? Because there was no run game. So he had to run the football. He looked a little banged up. He looked a little dinged. They asked a lot out of him tonight. He threw it, damn near 60 times in this football game? I mean, they asked a ton of Cam tonight. He had no help. The run game was non-existent. You hate these types of situations, but it is what it is. And the Cubs are moving on to the divisional round of the NLCS, the National League Championships Series, as they defeat the Nationals in a hell of a basketball. God damn it, can I get my sports right? In a hell of a baseball game, 9-8. Anyway, I just felt like they put too much on his shoulders in this ball game. They asked a lot out of Cam. I didn't think anybody stepped up other than the two receivers, KB and Funchess, who arguably to me has the best hands on that team. Funchess seems like he catches everything that his hands touch. I really like him a lot. He's really evolving into their best receiver, if you ask me. But KB is reliable as well, but he had some drops in this game. But nonetheless, those two stepped up as much as they could. McCaffrey tried, but nobody made a play. Nobody stepped up and made that play that changed the ball game. Cam was trying. There's a lot on his plate tonight, man. Pepe, the YouTuber, says, wish I could chill here, but I got to wake up early. Hey, man, do your thing, bro. Glad you could check us out, man. Hit that like button on the way out. Jason D. Nicola says, Ronald Darby and Sidney Jones expected back next week along with Lane Johnson. Team to beat in the NFC, playoff bound. I don't put too much stock into relying on rookies. You haven't seen Sidney Jones play in this league, so I'm not excited. If I'm an Eagles fan, yeah, I want to see the young man play. But at the end of the day, he may come in and get his ass whooped because he's a rookie. And that's what happens to rookies a lot of times, is baptism by fire. And he's coming off of major knee surgery. Okay, you can't expect this man to come in and change the world. And normally when you're talking Achilles, which is, if I'm not mistaken, that's what he's coming off of, a blown Achilles, you're not going to see the real Sidney Jones until sometime next year, after he's had a full year of rehab and recovery and he's gotten the full strength back in that. So I don't want to hear about Sidney Jones. Too many Eagles fans keep telling me about Sidney Jones coming back. That's nice. That's cute. I don't expect him to be a big-time defender for them. But Darby will definitely help. And anytime Lane Johnson is in the lineup, or isn't, I should say, we saw what happened to Vitae tonight on the first possession. J. Pep beats him around the edge, forces a fumble. Lane Johnson makes a huge difference on this football team, so his presence will definitely be felt when he comes back for this Eagles football team. Archangel says, Newton turns it over too much. He said the true Newton came out tonight. His true characteristics came out. Crumbles under pressure. He was under pressure tonight, and he didn't respond as well as you would have liked him to. But like I said, they put a lot on his shoulders tonight, man. He got little to no help tonight. The Mister says, I'm 1-0, Lou. Don't short me this week, dog. It's everybody. I didn't win the first game, but I don't care about Thursday night. I mean, it's nice to get off. Got off to a 1-0 start last week, and I went 7-7. I don't give a damn about Thursday night, to be honest with you. It's nice to get off to a great start, but where your picks will be won and losses on Sunday. So talk to me about that. SW Mike says, the Redskins are in trouble, man. I always tell Redskins fans, don't worry about what nobody else is doing. You can't worry. You can't control what the Eagles do. All you can do is control what the Redskins do. We just got to play ball. We got to continue to win football games, and whatever happens, happens. But if the Eagles are gonna go beast mode and win a ton of games, there's nothing we can do about that. All we can control is us. And if the Eagles decide to go 13-3 this year, they're not gonna go 13-3. But if the Eagles decide, let's just go hypothetical. Eagles decide to go 13-3 this year, we can still make the playoffs if we go 10-6, 11-5. We can control that. We can't control what the Eagles are going to do. All we can do is try to control what we can do against the Eagles in 2 weeks. But we got a game against the 49ers, so I don't even want to talk about the Eagles until we beat the 49ers. So are the Redskins in trouble? No, they're not in trouble, because we're 6 weeks into the season. 6 weeks. A lot of football left to be played. Ricky L says, how about the improvement of Nelson Aguilar this year? Didn't see him playing like this after the 2 previous years. And that's what I continue to tell fans of teams. Relax. Stop being so quick to judge these young players. Give them an opportunity to mature. Everyone doesn't mature at the same rate. Some guys get it right off the bat. They come in and they get it right away and they're outstanding. And it's those guys that they shape and mold the perception of fans around the league. Well, Joey Bosa jumped in right away and got it done. So our defensive lineman, our outside linebacker, our guy should be getting after the quarterback. No, that's Joey Bosa. They don't have the same DNA. Just because Odell Beckham Jr. steps right in and lights it up from day one with the Giants doesn't mean Nelson Aguilar is going to do the same damn thing. Give him a chance. And now you see, with patience comes virtue. And now the Eagles are reaping the benefits of having the patience to allow Nelson Aguilar to come along at his own pace. Brandon Sullivan says, I expected more of mixing up of Stewart and McCaffrey in the backfield. Instead, the Panthers seem hell-bent on throwing to McCaffrey. Like I said, the lack of creativity was alarming in this game. I mean, like I said, four of the same exact types of screens. Look, if you want to get McCaffrey the football out in space in a screen game, I'm fine with that. Let's get a little bit of diversity, though. Let's get a little bit of a change-up. How about a middle screen to McCaffrey? How about a wide receiver screen to McCaffrey? What's up with these same stale, I'm going to delay. All right, I'm going out. Get me a blocker out in front of me so I can see if I can make something happen. Think the Eagles haven't picked up on that? After you've done it the first 2 times? You're going to do it 2 more times? Archangel says, my Falcons are still the NFC champs until someone knocks us out. Love it or hate it, even though it's the new year, but we shall see. Hashtag facts. And that's the bottom line is such a young season. We can sit here and debate who's this, who's that. A lot of football left to be played. We'll see what happens. Cloud says, you're right, but those first 2 years had me not trusting USC receivers. Look, I'm not a fan of USC receivers. I'm not a big fan of LSU receivers, but the LSU thing, they've overcome it the last few years with Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. But USC, they've been putting out sketchy product at receiver for quite some time. And I was never confident in Nelson Aguilar hitting the scene and being a beast right off the bat. But I thought that he had talent. There was no denying that. And you saw him finally get it going. And the guy's talented, and you're seeing that right now. 3-11 Atlas says, you buying this Eagles team going forward? I am. I absolutely am. I told the Redskins fans on Tuesday night that this Eagles team is for real. They're not about the shits this year. They're not playing around. I said, look, man, you look around the Cowboys, they're about the shits. You know, the Cowboys will let teams back in games when they should be blowing them out. The Cowboys will allow a team to steal a game at the end. Eagles ain't having that, man. They're not about the shits this year. If they get you, they got you, and they're going to keep you down, and they're going to find a way to win the game. And that's what they did and have done this season. I am definitely buying what the Eagles are selling. Dana Elmore says, better than Mariota and Winston. What, you drinking, Lou? Yeah, no, I'm serious. I think Carson Wentz is legit. Jameis Winston turns the football over for me too much. He's too inconsistent with his decision making. I love Jameis Winston late in ball games. He's one of those guys that I feel like you get him to the end of the game with his team having a shot, and he's going to take his team down the field. Much like Joe Flacco. I feel like Jameis Winston has that clutch gene, but for the first 3.5 quarters of the game, you don't know what you're going to get out of Winston. You may get great Jameis. You may get the Jameis that has some pressure on him, sees a flash of his color, is almost down on the ground, and he's just going to throw it up for grabs. That's bullshit. You can't do that as a quarterback, especially when you've got an opportunity to score points. Carson Wentz extend plays, makes plays, but rarely does he turn the football over. Mariota can't stay healthy. Look, the best ability is availability. Mariota seems to be hurt every single year. So I'll take Wentz over both of those guys, man. Nah, I'm not drunk. I'm just speaking facts. Jose Galvin says, you buying the Eagles? Yeah. Definitely buying the Eagles. Archangel says, I see the Eagles making the playoffs. I'll give them that much, but how deep they can go in the playoffs is the question when they face teams with more experience like Green Bay and Atlanta. And that's what happens when you got a young quarterback that never has been there before. Yeah, that's the question you ask yourself. But they got to get there first. It's still early. We've seen teams start 5-1 and collapse before. So I'm not conceding the fact that they're just going to be in the playoffs. Things happen. Things change. But, yeah, if they do make it to the postseason, that's one of those things you got to take into consideration is that they had a young quarterback that hasn't been there before. Absolutely. Blackbird Blitz says, do you think Cam Newton is a franchise QB or should they be looking to draft a replacement? No, he's a franchise quarterback. I mean, hell, do you guys forget that quickly that he's coming off of one of his best stretches of football the last 2 weeks on the road against New England and Detroit? Like, how quickly do we forget? Like, why are we asking these crazy questions 1 week removed from him being like 23 of 27 for like 370 yards and like 3 touchdowns? What are we doing? What are we doing here, guys? Yes, he's a franchise quarterback. The guy's good. So, yeah, there's that. Atlas says, you think the Panthers might as well convert McCaffrey to receiver fully with the way they're using him now? He's still a guy that you can hand it to out of the backfield. You knew what you were getting when you drafted him. You knew that he was that hybrid type of running back / receiver guy, and that's how they're using him. My problem is they haven't figured out how to use Curtis Samuel. And you don't draft a guy like that. And I said the same thing about McCaffrey. You don't draft those types of players unless you have a game plan, unless you know exactly how you're going to use them. Well, they drafted Curtis Samuel blindly. They have no idea what to do with him. Sort of like the Rams with Tavon Austin now, with new head coach Sean McVay. He has no idea what to do with Tavon Austin. He just figured out, hey, I can at least hand it to him out of the backfield and he can do that and be a running back. Well, damn, you can do the same thing with Curtis Samuel. Because Jonathan Stewart, he's not making the first guy miss in the backfield. That first guy gets back there, he's done. At least Curtis Samuel might be able to make the first guy miss. At least McCaffrey might be able to make the first guy miss. But in any event, they got to run the football in Carolina. If they can't run the football, they're going to struggle. You know, what they did last week versus Detroit, that's an aberration. That's not the norm for them. They need the run game to at least give them a shot, to at least keep them somewhat balanced. They absolutely quit on the run game tonight, and rightfully so. It was ineffective as ineffective can be. Archangel says, was it more of good Eagles tonight or more of bad Panthers in your opinion? It was a combination of both. When the Eagles got their opportunities, and that's what this game is all about, opportunities. When they got their opportunities, they took full advantage. But guess who gave them opportunities? The Panthers gave them those opportunities in this game. Eagles created some of those opportunities. Fletcher Cox getting the cam, hitting his arm, ball going up in the air, picked off. The Panthers gave them some opportunities. Jonathan Stewart, ball right through his hands into the waiting arms of the Eagles defensive back. Interception. What did the Eagles do? Take full advantage of that. Touchdown. 2 plays later. The good teams capitalize off of the other team's mistakes. You want to make mistakes? I'm going to make you pay for that mistake. So it was a combination of both. When the Eagles had opportunities, they took advantage of those opportunities. They forced some of those opportunities, and the Panthers gave them some of those opportunities. Whatever the case may be, whether they forced the opportunity or the Panthers gave them the opportunity, they took advantage of the opportunity, and that's what good teams do. Dana Elmore says, Killer Kanye, Killer Kanye, Killer Kanye. He wasn't Killer Cam tonight, unless you're looking at it from the Eagles' perspective, where he was Killer Cam. But in any event, I'm not going to sit here and put it all on Cam. I know a lot of people love to do that. I'm not one of those people that will allow you guys to do that. Corey Fitterman says, man, Lou, them Eagles, they looking for real, but I got faith in our skins. I'm watching the baseball game in your program too, fam. Yeah, I was trying to do both, doing somewhat of a horrible job in multitasking. I am not a good multitasker at all. But in any event, I told y'all on Tuesday night the Eagles were for real. On the Redskins report, I said the Eagles are not about the shits, man. They are not playing this year. I don't know if y'all been watching the Eagles, and you would hope that the Redskins fans, because of this bye week, had a chance to sit down and take in the rest of the league. And that Eagles game against the Cardinals aren't a good football team in my estimation, but still, you still got to go out and dominate. The 49ers on a good football team. I guarantee you we don't spank them the way the Eagles spanked the Cardinals 34-7. Guarantee you we don't beat up the 49ers like that. That's what good teams do to inferior teams at home. You beat the brakes off of them, and you let them know early. Not early, early. That you're not going to have a shot in this game. I'm not even going to let you hang around. It was 21-0 at the end of the first quarter in that game. That's what good teams do to bad teams when they at home. Smoke those boys right off. You get off the bus, and we already got 7 points. You get off the bus, it's 14-0. We're going to let you know nice and early that you don't stand a shot in this game. Eagles are for real. Cody Otter says, do you think the Eagles are overrated or actually good? Elite. I won't go elite yet. It's too early. They're a really good football team. I told you I think they're one of the best in the NFC right now. So, but as we know in this league, momentum and confidence are fleeting. 1 week you can be on top. All it takes is one loss by this Eagles team, and they could start to see their season kind of go in a different direction. And it happens all the time. It's a week-to-week league. I tell you this all the time. The Pittsburgh Steelers got embarrassed at home by the Jacksonville Jaguars last week. Watch them go to Kansas City and hand them their first loss this week coming up. Mark my words. I'm telling you, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who looked inept and looked like a shell of themselves versus Jacksonville last week, Ben Roethlisberger looked like he was done. Watch them go to Kansas City and find a way to win that game. Watch. That's what this league is all about. So the Eagles are a good football team. Isaac Schnook says, Eagles look legit. They are. Poopin' Fanoopin says, do you track baseball at all? Nationals choked again. Yeah, I track baseball. Nationals can't win a closeout game at home. What are they now, like 1-5, 0-5 in decisive game fives at home in the first round of the playoffs? No, they can't get out of the NLDS to save their lives. This is what they do. And I'm not mad about it because I'm an Atlanta Braves fan. So I like watching the Nationals lose. Sam Johnston says, I think the Eagles and Redskins look like teams to beat in the NFC. My Chiefs are still hot, though. The Redskins got a long way to go. The Eagles are 5-1. Just let that sink in for a second. The Redskins are 2-2. They're not even close to where the Eagles are. They're not even sniffing the Eagles right now. Eagles already have a win over the Redskins. In my mind, it's nothing to discuss. The Eagles are the class of the NFC East as of right now at 5-1. I mean, they literally have a sizable lead on everyone in the division. Redskins have a chance to close that gap over the next 2 weeks, but they got to take care of business. But right now, the Eagles are they got a legitimate shot. And like I said, these next 2 weeks going to tell us a lot about the Philadelphia Eagles. I said that prior to this game. If they beat the Redskins next week, the Eagles are going to win the NFC East, barring injury to Carson Wentz or just a total complete meltdown. They're going to win the NFC East because you look at the division, the way it's set up, that would give them their third divisional win. At that point, they don't have to win another game in the division. They'll be 3-3 at worst. But if they beat the Redskins next week, they'll be 6-1, 3-0 in the division with a sweep over the closest team to them in the Redskins. And both teams, Redskins and Cowboys, will both be Redskins, if they beat the 49ers, will be 3-3. Cowboys will be 2-3 because they'll be on a bye week this week. And then next week they get the 49ers. So they'll probably be 3-3. Both teams might be 3-3 at that point. And the Eagles will be 6-1. Think about that for a second. Let that sink in. 3-0 in the division. 6-1. At that point, I see the Eagles just being the class of the division. If the Redskins can't close the gap over the next 2 weeks, the Eagles might run away with this thing. We'll see what happens. B3 says, I think we need to send Sister Lou and have a counseling session with you. You know, a little family business. You need help. We are here for you, bruh. Hey, look, man. I'm good. Trust me. We're going to find out just who is who. It's a lot of football left to be played. Somebody told me, my man Matthew Feevish told me, hey, go check Twitter. So off to Twitter I go. In the meantime, I'll get to another comment. Corey Fitterman says, do you think the Panthers should question their offensive coordinator's play calling? Absolutely. I do. I think that there's not enough diversity in his play calling. I don't think he's doing enough to maximize the talent that they have on that offense. Especially when your run game is non-existent, you're going to have to create ways to pick up easy yardage. And you've got enough guys with enough talent to do that close to the line of scrimmage. I don't want to keep seeing speed outs. I don't want to keep seeing deep outs. I don't want to keep seeing comeback routes. I don't want to see the screen pass to McCaffrey 5 times. Use some different ways to pick up 4 yards on first down. If the run game isn't going to provide you with that, find other ways, alternate ways to get those yards. Find other ways to create for guys that aren't getting involved in the game plan, like a Curtis Samuel. Find other ways to get guys in space. You want Samuel in space. You want McCaffrey in space. Well, find creative ways to do that. I don't think he's doing a good enough job of doing that. But in any event, let's get to some more of your comments. At Matt Thievish says, when Fletcher forces pressure, it's fun to think of the song Under Pressure, but replace pressure with Fletcher. The guy's outstanding, man. I just know that much. He's been outstanding. At BrownShoe89 says, 5-1 on Thursday night games so far this year. Starting strong seems to be a trend for me. It's nice to get off to a nice start on Thursday night, but again, like I said earlier, where it's at is Sunday. That's where you're going to make your money at. Cloud says, are you an all Washington teams fan? No. I just told you I'm an Atlanta Braves fan, so no, I'm not. Poopin' for Noopin says, to hear you say you are an Atlanta fan breaks my heart. An Atlanta Falcons fan, Atlanta Braves fan, not an Atlanta Falcons fan. Let's clarify that right now. I am an Atlanta Falcons. I am an Atlanta Braves baseball fan. I am a Washington Redskins football fan. Let's clarify that. So let me say it one more time without effing it up. I am a Washington Redskins football fan and an Atlanta Braves baseball fan. Brandon Sullivan says, apparently the Nationals team board talked to the players and asked them to just not lose in the first round this year. They can't avoid it. They just don't know how to get through the first round. It is what it is. But in any event, that's going to do it for us tonight, man. Eagles, impressive on the road, 28-23. I thought without some of the help of the officials, this one's not even close. They dominated this football game in certain pockets of this game. They did allow the Panthers to hang around with some mistakes and the inability late to pick up first downs to ice this game. But nonetheless, defensively, they get it done late, get the stops necessary to preserve a 28-23 win on the road. Wentz was outstanding. The defense created 3 turnovers. They got pressure on Cam Newton, forced him to make mistakes in the pocket. I thought that this was an overall great team win. Jake Elliott continues to be a revelation for this Eagles team. Kicked a 50-yarder in this game, a 49-yarder, and another field goal. He was outstanding, and that's how you win in this league. You need all 3 phases to come and play top-notch football, especially on the road if you want to win. Eagles did that. They get the win. Go to 5-1, 28-23 over the Panthers, who dropped to 4-2 with this loss on the season. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. This has been Thursday Night Football Overtime with your man Louie T. Hopefully Luke Kuechly, his injury isn't serious, because this Panthers defense cannot afford to lose their general and leader in command for any extensive period of time. We'll see what that injury turns out to be and the longevity and the severity of that injury. Meanwhile, the Eagles now have 11 full days to prepare for the Redskins. They could easily be the cream of the crop of the NFC East, and with a win at home, sweeping the Redskins, that would put them in the driver's seat to dominate the NFC East division this season. We'll see what happens. A lot of time between then and now. A lot of games to be played between then and now. We'll be back and we'll chop it up for every single game between then and now. Come back and join your man, Louie T. I thank you for joining me on this telecast. Hopefully you'll be back to join me for many more. If it happens in the National Football League, it's going to happen here on the Louie T Network. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.